Hello students, in the chapter Fundamentals of PLC, we have seen what is PLC, then what are the types of PLC, that is fixed PLC and modular PLC. So fixed PLC is having the IO slots fixed in the device itself, while modular PLC is having the IO slots that can be attached to the PLC ladder. Okay. Then depending on the size, we can also categorize the PLCs as small PLC, medium PLC and large PLC. So they are used according to the applications. In this video lecture, we are going to see the PLC installation. The decision of which PLC is to be used is usually based upon the required inputs, outputs and functions of the controller. The first decision is the type of controller, then a rack, or whether we have to use the mini PLC or micro PLC or software based. So this decision will depend upon the basic criteria that is listed below. First is number of logical inputs and outputs, then memory, often 1 kilobyte and up. Need is dictated by the size of the ladder logic program. Okay, so ladder logic program is the program given to the PLC for operating the specific task. Okay, a ladder element will take only few bytes and will be specified in manufacturer's documentation. Then number of special IO modules. When doing some exotic applications, a large number of special add-on cards may be required. Then next is scan time. Big programs or faster processes will require shorter scan times, and the shorter the scan time, the larger is the cost. Typical values for this are 1 microsecond per one simple ladder instruction. Then communication. Serial connections and network connections allow the PLC to be programmed and to talk to other PLCs, that is communicate between other PLCs. The needs are determined by the application. So which application you are using, depending on that the connections are done. Then software. Availability of programming software and other tools determines the programming, and debugging is. So debugging is error finding. The process of selecting a PLC can be broken into following steps. First is understand the process to be controlled. In that, list the number and types of inputs and outputs. Then determine how the process is to be controlled. Then determine special needs such as distance between parts of the process. The next step is, if not already specified, a single vendor should be selected. So we have to select the PLC from which vendor, which company is to be taken. Factors that might be considered are manuals and documentation, then support while developing the programs, the range of products available, support while troubleshooting, shipping times for emergency replacement, then training, the track record for the company, then business practices, that is billing, upgrades, obsolete products, etc. Then the third step is plan the ladder logic for the controls. Then fourth, count the program instructions and enter the values into the sheets. So use the instruction times and memory requirements for each instruction to determine if the PLC has sufficient memory and if the response time will be adequate for the process. Okay, so we will see what is ladder logic and how programs are done by using this ladder logic in the fifth chapter. Okay, Then here is one example while choosing the PLC. So three PLCs are taken and comparison is done by taking some parameters of that. So these are the compact PLCs, small PLCs. Okay, the first one is CPM1A, second is CPM2A, CPM2C. Okay, then maximum number of digital I/O points for first PLC are 10 to 160, for CPM2A 80 to 180, and for CPM2C 106 to 192. Then execution time for first one is 0.72 to 1.72 microsecond. For second one 0.26 to 0.64 microsecond, and for third one 0.26 to 0.64 microsecond. Then program memory. So program memory required for CPM1A is 2 kilo words. So here word is of 2 byte. Then for CPM2A it is 4K words, and for CPM2C it is 4K words. Data memory for CPM1A is 1K words, that is 1000 words. For CPM2A it is 2000 words, and for CPM2C it is 2000 words. The special functions are, first one is having 5 kilohertz counter input, 2 kilohertz pulse output. Second is having 20 kilohertz counter input and 10 kilohertz pulse outputs. And for third one 20 kilohertz counter input and 10 kilohertz pulse outputs. Then communications. So communications include serial communication, device net, Profibus DP, Compobus, etc. For the second one, it is having serial communication, device net, Profibus DP, Compobus. For CPM2C, serial communication, then device net, Compobus, device net to Compobus's gateway function. Then PLC selection procedure. So for that we have to define the input output capacity, the number of connection terminal at PLC IO unit, then including local expansion and IO network, then total of discrete versus analog inputs and outputs. So here input output unit specifications are given for input unit. Model number is suppose CQM1ID211. So for that DC input points are maximum 8. For the second model 16 points, 16 DC input points are there. And for the third model maximum 32 DC input points are there. Then for AC input, for the model CQM1IA121, 8 points are there, and for the second one 8 points are there for AC input. Then for the output unit, the relay input, the relay output units are 8 and 16 for first and second model. Then it is having transistor output units. For first model it is 8 points, then second 16 points, then 32 points, like this. Okay, and AC output unit of 8 point for the model CQM1OD221. So you will get this information in the data sheet or manual that comes with the PLC. So don't bother about this. So you will get this information on the manual which comes with PLC. Then define types of input output. Every programmable logic controller, that is PLC, must have some means of receiving and interpreting signals from real world sensors such as switches and encoders, and also be able to effect control over the real world control elements such as solenoids, valves, motors, etc. Okay, so we can connect the output devices such as solenoids, valves, motors to the PLC. So this is generally known as input output. And to select the I/O, you must know types of PLC, types of the supply connector, that is either AC or DC. Then what is the switching technique used, that is either it is relay, that is a normal condition. Then for transistor is used for fast condition, and for high voltage AC is used. So you have to choose the switching technique. Then you have to choose the IO unit, which is of two type: discrete IO, that is digital IO, and second one is analog IO. So let us see what is discrete IO. A discrete data point is one with only two states, either on or off. Digital IO modules have digital IO circuits that interface the on-off sensors such as push button and limit switches, and on-off actuators such as motor starters and pilot lights. Digital I/O modules cover electrical ranges from 5 volt to 276 volt AC or DC, and relay contact output modules are available for the ranges from 0 to 276 volt AC or 0 to 175 volt DC. Remember, discrete I/O and digital I/O, both words are same, which concerns with only on or off condition. It is having only two states, either on or off. Then analog I/O. Analog I/O modules perform the required analog to digital and digital to analog conversions using up to 16-bit resolution. A range of analog signal levels can be accommodated, including standard analog inputs and outputs and direct thermocouple and RTD temperature inputs. Analog I/O is commonly available for modular PLCs for many different analog signal types, including voltage, that is 0 to 10 volt and 0 to 5 volt, current 0 to 20 milliampere and 4 to 20 milliampere, then thermocouple, RTD, strain gauge in the millivolt ranges. Then memory size, it is also considered. The ability to store a program in the PLC is its memory size. It is typically 1 kilobyte, 6 kilobyte, 8 kilobyte, 12 kilobyte, 14 kilobyte, and so on. So here memory size for specific models are given. For CQM1 CPU 11E 3.2 K word memory is required. It is available. For the model CQM1 CPU 21E 1K word data memory is required. Then for CQM1 CPU 41E, CQM1 CPU 42E, a 7.2K word program memory is required, and data memory for these four are 6K word. See, program memory and data memory are different concepts. So in the program memory, whatever instructions or program we feed to the PLC is stored, and in the data memory, the actual data or status of the registers is stored. What are the software languages? The first is ladder diagram, that is the most popular. Then next is instruction list, it is also called as IL. Then structure test, ST. Then sequential function chart, this is also one software language used for PLC programming. And the next is functional block diagram. So you can choose any one, but the most popular language is the ladder diagram, and in this subject, that is in the next unit, we are going to see the ladder diagram and programs based on this ladder diagram. Then we have to describe the future system expansion. Okay, so today the industry control system having transformation from traditional control method to automation control system. So most popular automation systems are flexible manufacturing system FMS and computer integrated manufacturing CIM. So PLC is the main agent in the automation system. So we have to consider which are the future aspects if the future transformation is possible while selecting the PLC. Then describe the support and backup. Industrial automation control system needs support and backup units to carry out the existing control system in case of damage. Suppose one part of the PLC is damaged, there should be another part to replace that. PLC is the most convenient control system for the backup, and the PLC system is fast and easy to be installed. Then define site installation condition consideration. It includes the PLC is resistant to harsh conditions and highly reliable, but installing the PLC in a favorable site will maximize its reliability and operating lifetime. So avoid the installing of the PLC in a site with any of the following conditions. Okay, so if any of the following condition exists, do not install the PLC at that place. So first is direct sunlight, that then the ambient temperature exceeds 0 degree to 55 degree range, then the relative humidity exceeds 10% to 90% RH range. Consideration occurs due to sudden temperature changes. If the site is having corrosive gases or flammable gases or salts, PLC should not be installed there. Then the site with water, oil, chemical sprays, then the site is subjected to direct vibration, that is shock. At that place also the PLC should not be installed. So you have to take care of the space where you are installing the PLC by considering these factors. Then define the panel and cabinet installation. The first is consider the PLC operation, maintenance and surrounding conditions when installing the PLC in a panel or cabinet. The operating temperature range for the PLC is 0 degree Celsius to 55 degree Celsius. Be sure that there is adequate ventilation for cooling. For that, allow enough space for air circulation. Do not install the PLC above equipment that generates a large amount of heat, such as heaters, transformers, or large resistors. Then install a cooling fan or system when the ambient temperature exceeds 55 degree Celsius. So here are some examples given how the PLCs are installed in the panel. In the first case, a small PLC is shown which is fitted in the panel, and in the last one, in the next one, the big PLC fitted in the panel is shown how they are fitted, how they are installed in the panel. Then installing the CPU unit and I/O unit of the PLC. The small PLC must be installed in the position shown below to ensure the adequate cooling. Okay, then do not install the small PLC in either of the following positions. So here the incorrect positions and correct positions of installing PLCs is shown. So you have to choose the correct position for installation. Then the small PLC can be installed on a horizontal surface or on a DIN track. So the pictures are shown here. Okay, then lower the small PLC so that the notch on the back of the PLC catches up the top of the DIN track. Push the PLC forward until the lock snaps into the space. So here it is shown how the PLC is fitted in the second diagram. So you can observe that. For big PLC, before installing the units have to compiled one by one. There is no single unit that can be said to constitute a rack PLC. To build a rack PLC, we start with the back plane. The back plane for the Omron PLC is shown below. So backplane is nothing but it is a simple device having two functions. Its first function is to provide physical support for the units to be mounted on it. The second function is to provide the connectors and electrical pathways necessary connecting the units mounted to it. The core of the PLCs is the CPU. The CPU contains the program consisting of the series of steps necessary for the control task. The CPU has built-in power supply. It fits into the rightmost position of the back plane. So back plane is nothing but where the PLC is installed, the PLC is attached into it, and whatever are the other slots of PLC that are attached to the back plane. Okay, so on the front side you will see the PLC and on the back side you will see the back plane. The CPU of big PLC has no I/O points built in. So in order to complete the PLC, we need to mount one or more I/O units to the back plane. Mount the I/O unit to the back plane by locking the top of the I/O unit into the slot on the back plane and rotating the I/O unit downwards as shown here. Press down the yellow tab at the bottom of the slot. Press the I/O unit firmly into the position and then release the yellow tab. So it will get fixed. So here is the diagram that shows I/O unit mounted directly on the left of the CPU. You can see it. I/O units are where the control connections are made from the PLC to all the various input devices and output devices. As you can see from the figure above, there is still some space available on the left side of the backplane. This space is for any additional I/O units that may be required. The figure below shows a total 8 I/O units mounted on the back plane. So in the first one you can see one I/O unit is mounted. Okay, so it is beside the CPU and you can install such 8 I/O units to this type of PLC. After the big PLC is compiled in the backplane, then the big PLC can be installed on the DIN rail. The DIN rail mounting bracket shown below is necessary for mounting the PLC to the DIN rail. The following diagram is a view of the back of the backplane. Attach one mounting bracket to the left and right sides of the backplane as shown here. Then mount the backplane on to the DIN rail so that the claws on the mounting brackets fit into the upper portion of the DIN rail as shown here. Then loosen the screws attaching to the mounting brackets to the backplane. Slide the backplane upward as shown below so that the mounting bracket and backplane clamp securely onto the DIN rail. Then tighten the screws. So here are some diagrams. The first one is showing the input configuration. This input configuration depend on the specification of the input unit will be used. Then second is showing the output configuration. So this output configuration is also depending on the specification of output unit of the particular PLC. Then here is the expansion unit. The expansion unit or expansion I/O unit are usually attached to the amount of I/O devices to be controlled increase. Okay, suppose our PLC is having 8 I/O units and we have to expand that. Okay, we have to increase the I/O modules to be inserted into it. So in that case, the expansion unit is used. The amount over than the capacities of existing IO units are attached when needed to a special need like a temperature sensor. In that case, we use the expansion unit. So here it is shown. So here the expansion unit of the big PLC is shown. For the small PLC, the following procedure is for connecting the expansion unit or expansion IO unit. First is to remove the cover from the CPU units or the expansion IO units expansion connector. Then use a flat blade screwdriver to remove the cover from the expansion IO connector. Next is insert expansion IO units connecting cable into the CPU units or expansion IO units expansion connector. Replace the cover on the CPU units or the expansion IO units expansion connector. For the PLC, use the following picture when connecting an expansion unit or expansion IO unit. So this is about the PLC installation. It is for information purpose. Okay, how the PLCs are installed and how the PLC looks like. I will give you the link for the practical, or you have to watch the practical session we have done. So you will get what types of PLCs are available for various vendors, various companies in that.